Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Chiefs Digest live Q&A here on Tuesday nights. Hooray, hooray, it is Q&A day. Looks like the microphone is on. Luttrell popping in. Brian in rare form already. So I feel like we've accomplished more before 7:04 than we do almost any week. So we're on a roll tonight. What's going on? What's news-wise? Not a lot in Chiefs Kingdom, everybody. We are in the silly season, as I call it, and reference that was last week's episode title. The silly season of the NFL is live. You can tell it's even affecting everything here at Chiefs Digest. Yes, the office looks a little bit more messy than usual. Trying to work on a little summer cleaning and getting ready for the new season. We've done a tour of the office before. You can see over my left shoulder. Yes, I have some junk right now because I'm going through all of my paperwork from last season and rosters and notes and game day notes, everything. I put them into binders because I'm a little bit of slightly a pack rat. Mostly, I refer to myself as an archivist. So the folders over my left shoulder, the 3-ring binders, that's everything going back to 2016. So I've got my paperwork and notes and everything from past seasons all in there. So sometimes it takes me a little while to get organized, but I do have everything and keep it all. So just, if there's anything, hey, if I ever want to write a memoir or something, I'm all ready for that. But that's what's going on in the NFL. Just saying, the only Chiefs news of the week. Is there any Chiefs news? I heard about Jackie Tranquil winning a $6,400 Chanel purse at Taylor and Travis's wedding. Oh, yeah, Taylor and Travis got married. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about that, but feel free. I was not invited, so I can't tell you what happened, but I've seen a lot of people's pictures on my Instagram feed that did get to go to the wedding. I think I've determined that the Mendoza line for the 1,300 guests was a former NFL official and I guess replay aficionado Dean Blandino. I feel like he had to be close to like the 1,300th guest. So if you weren't invited, Bussing with the Boys, I guess they're right there, right below Dean Van Blandino, not above that line. Always interesting to see who got a +1 and who didn't, I guess. Lots of questions there, but hey, congratulations to the couple, and I guess we will see Travis at some point in training camp, and I'm sure there'll be a couple of questions about that, but otherwise, what's going on? You drive the conversation. We'll talk about it all here. Anything you want to, as always, that's an Ask Me Anything Tuesday. Feel free to fire away. Anything Chiefs related, anything in the NFL. Even just want to know, I should probably explain I have a little redness around my eyes. No, it's not a recurrence of my shingles or anything. I was working in the yard and got into some poison oak, which I appear to be highly contagious to. And so I think it just got a little bit, it must have gotten in my sweat because it's like around my eyes and on my arms. So if I look a little strange tonight, that's why. So I've just looked at it on myself on the screen and like, man, my eyelids are really red. Luckily not in my eyes, so that's good. Brian, and once you hit the like button, Brian, you then have carte blanche the rest of the night. So I see you've got it all going on right now. The first thing I saw was in all caps, "Eat more Zardas." So I did appreciate that. Now I know why you're saying that, but what it makes me think of is the end of training camp, when near the end, it's not the end, but near the end of training camp, Zardes comes to St. Joe to hook up the players, and they are nice enough to feed the media as well that day. So that is the highest attended day of camp for media. Everybody making a trip for Zarda Day. My favorite day, obviously, of camp. I mean, I always say, for the media, there's typically two. I'm including Zarda here as one of the 3 favorite days of training camp. Favorite day, obviously, kind of a 3-way tie. The first day, you gotta love the first day of training camp officially. Get to see some actual football and everything like that. That's great. Start the day, and then the last day when you get the heck out of St. Joe. Nothing against St. Joe. It's just that when you're going up there for a month, you're ready to not go up there and make the trip anymore. So nothing personal to St. Joe. We love you, but we're ready for it to move on. All right, Brian, which 6 wide receivers do the Chiefs play and who goes to the practice squad? I think that's going to be a really tough question because it's right now, certainly based on what I saw at OTAs, and I want to make sure that I'm saying the right things here to keep myself from getting into too much trouble or anything. I'm basing this publicly on what we saw during the public practices that were open during minicamp, what some coaches have said, what obviously Dave Tobe said, because this is going to fit in with special teams. I mean, I think 5 receivers are almost locks to make this team, barring any injuries. So you've got Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, Cyrus Allen, Jalen Royals. I mean, it's always possible. I mean, somebody gets hurt, and it's always possible. I mean, if anybody is going to struggle, I would say it would be Jalen Royals would be up there. But, again, Chiefs invested a draft pick. They are not typically a team that's going to give up on somebody that quickly. But, I mean, if Jalen Royals struggled and they thought they could get him to the practice squad, they might. But I think that those 5 are pretty strong. I mean, Royals is probably a little bit less than the others. I'd still put him at probably 70+% to make the team, though, if healthy, maybe a little bit higher. But I really don't think it's much of a chance of not making the team to worry about. I think they'll probably keep a 6th wide receiver because everybody that we've mentioned so far, I don't think that there's a returner consistently in the bunch. Tyquan, I don't think that he really has the skill set that they love for it. I mean, he's got the speed, but I think there's other parts of it that that aren't really part of his game. So I don't think you're going to see Tyquan in that role. I don't think you're going to see Jalen Royals in that role. And obviously, I mean, Worthy could do punt returns, but you don't really want to expose him to that. And he's more of a punt return guy than a kick return guy. A kick return is going to be a tougher question as it is to see who's going to make this team. But right now, the incumbent to be in that 6th spot would be Nico Remigio, and I would pencil him in right now. I would probably make him about 50% to make this team right now as that 6th wide receiver exclusively for special teams. But the question is, it's like, who can beat him out? And yeah, I mean, I do think that there's a handful of receivers I would put in the next tier that are going to be in that conversation. Andrew Armstrong, who's a 2nd-year receiver from Arkansas, came in late last year to the practice squad and came in early. He was kind of the poster child for the mini camp. He was the only returning player on the roster that was there for the rookie mini camp, and he was good. I mean, he's looked solid throughout OTAs and through that rookie mini camp. So I have him in the conversation. Jason Brownlee is back. I include him there. I'm going to leave out a couple of undrafted rookies because I'm going to have to put them in their own separate tier. But talking about this tier that could compete for that 6th spot, I've got Jimmy Holiday in there as well. Those are the 3 veterans. I mean, and they're competing with Nico Remigio. I would say those 4 are competing for that 6th spot. Then I think you're bringing in a couple of the undrafted rookies, and the 2 at the front of the line. Well, I'm going to say 3 at the front of the line there. Jacob DeJesus, kid from California, been really small. I mean, 5'7". He would be a shocker to make the team, but he's got some skills. I can see where that could work out. Amari Evans, 6 foot, 195 pounds, kind of your typical receiver from Washington. He's got some game. And Xavier Loyd, who played at Missouri, K-State. He's been pretty impressive. A little bit more size, 6'2", 196. Weird college production, really didn't do anything at Mizzou and K-State. Spent some time at one of the directional Illinois schools. I always forget which one it was that he went to. I want to say it was like Eastern Illinois, but that's probably not right. probably Illinois State, and not even in one of the directional Illinois schools. But he's in that conversation. So to me, it's those three receivers and kind of in a spot. I have not mentioned Jeff Caldwell. He's kind of behind the group. I mean, I think Caldwell would be a really strong practice squad candidate. I think it would be a real leap to see Jeff Caldwell make the roster. I mean, not saying he can't, but I'd have him at like maybe a 10% shot right now. I think there's a lot of guys in front of him, though. So you got a pretty good group there, competing. You got four guys, veterans competing for that one spot. You've got three undrafted rookies that could factor in there. I mean, there's always a chance Chiefs keep seven. I think that's going to be difficult. You also got to factor in that I don't know what Brashard Smith is exactly, if he's going to play a little bit of receiver. So, you might have like 6.5 receivers, maybe make the 53. But let's say Nico wins that spot. I could see you keeping at least 3 practice squad receivers, and it could certainly be the veterans, although I'm not sure that all the veterans would clear. And again, I mean, I know that the Chiefs, they do like to go with some undrafted free agents in that spot to see what the upsides are. Who's, some guys that they can bet on to maybe become players down the road, like Nico, and be a contributor down the road. So, I mean, Holiday and Jason Brownlee made the roster last year. I think he ended up on the practice squad later in the season. Jimmy Holiday was on the practice squad and later on the roster during the season. Those guys are candidates. And again, I mean, I think that those 4 receivers I'm talking about who are undrafted free agents who are in the mix, Jacob DeJesus, Amari Evans, Xavier, Loyd, and Andrew Caldwell, Jeff Caldwell. Those 4 would be my practice squad candidates. I mean, again, keeping 5 or 6 receivers on the practice squad would be a lot, Brian, but I mean, not all of them would clear waivers, I think, and come back to you. I think there's 1 or 2, and certainly the veterans would be a good possibility to not make the team and move on. But that's kind of where we start. So, and what percentage of the snaps go to DeMarcado? I mean, my guess, Brian, would be, I think it's going to be fairly close to his work in Arizona. And I'm going to bring up his snap numbers. Maybe depending on what were his snap numbers. I mean, it's going to be a backup role. So offensively, the last 3 years, he played 292, 164, 196, about 20 to 30% of the snaps. Probably a good range. I mean, it's always possible that could end up being a little bit less, depending on Emmett Johnson and how you fit him into it. And I'm looking up Walker's numbers just to refresh myself on how many snaps he had in Seattle the last few years, because again, he's been a rotational guy, and I would not want to bump up his snap numbers a lot. And his rookie year, he played 575. Since then, 502, 469, 498. That's about right. So it's about 50%. I could see it maybe being a little bit more, but in that ballpark of 50 to 60% of snaps. You get 25% for DeMarcado. It leaves you with, I mean, if you get, say, 55 for Walker, 25 for DeMarcado, 20% for Emmett Johnson, roughly. I could live with those numbers. I mean, again, that's kind of factoring out Brashard Smith. I mean, it's rounding error. Maybe you get him a few snaps here and there. And then he might be the guy on the outside looking in. And, and I also am going to be interested to see if one of the undrafted rookie running backs can squeeze onto this squad. EJ Smith is the question mark, because he could end up being a return guy, but we'll see, Brian. I'm going to go lightning around on some of your questions, Brian. I mean, I know you were first, so you got them all in, but I want to make sure everybody gets a chance here. Can you count on at least 20 runs per game from Andy Reid? Yeah, I think you can. I mean, that's, I know we're going to have to back out a little bit of, quarterback numbers, but, 20 runs per game, 17 games, 340 runs from your running backs. Let me go to where I want to go to. Let's go back a couple of years, because let's see. let's go back to where I feel like the Chiefs were a little bit more comfortable from the run game standpoint. Uh, uh, let's see, rushing attempts. They had let's see, 417 in 22, and looking to back out Mahomes and the quarterbacks here. So you had 417. Mahomes had 61. So yeah, I mean, you'd be right there. I mean, that's about 350 ish. So 350 plus. I mean, that would be your 20 right there. So yeah, I do. I mean, I think that the Chiefs are going to run the ball a little bit more this year. Once again, I mean, you can only run the ball to a certain degree as much as your team allows you to run the ball. And I get, I mean, I would not have run the ball as much as the Chiefs last year either. I mean, I mean, they ran the ball 430 times last year. Now 64 with Mahomes. So, I mean, they were still running the ball about 20 times a game. They were pretty spread out. I mean, if you also factor in, and I don't really see a reason to back out Xavier Worthy, touches. I mean, yeah, those are mostly pop passes. But it was just 11. So even if you back them out and 75 there, I mean, it brings you back down to about 350. I mean, that is 20 a game. I think you probably would like to be a little bit north of there, but that was 430. Let me see here. Oops. Let's I never like looking at 2018 numbers because that's a weird season. You had Kareem Hunt, which you didn't have after that, so it's kind of an outlier season for a lot of things. But I mean, Chiefs ran not 2019, they ran 375 times. Patrick Mahomes was 43 of those. So in one of their better offensive years, they were fifth in the league in points that year. I mean, they ran the ball less than 20% of the 20 per game there, and they were over 20 a little bit, later on when they were putting up some really good numbers too in 21, 22. So yeah, I mean, I not to belabor the point, but I do think that the Chiefs are going to run the ball more this year, and I think they will go over 20 runs per game and 340 runs from their running backs this year. I think fairly comfortably. So Blazing Bobby with the super chat. Appreciate that very much, Bobby. You need food ideas for training camp. You asked last year, but forgot. Write it down this time. Appreciate the kind words, Bobby. Let's see. Gosh, I go out to eat so little in St. Joe, so I'm probably terrible for this. I will say, we've had a tradition the last few years that the Chiefs media corps and the PR department gets together at Il Lazzarone for pizza, kind of near in the camp, just get together to talk about things and business. And so that's kind of a benefit there and everything like that. It's a good thing to happen. And so Il Lazzarone's great. I love that place. Got an outdoor seating area too. So a lot of fun there. I'm sure everybody's got to have some good ideas too, because I'm on the go so much when we're in St. Joe, and I have not been. I mean, I know some of the, gosh, what's the one? I know that I think there's one of the sports bars that everybody used to go to that is not there anymore. And man, I mean, you start asking me, Bobby, one of my first answers is going to be Chick-fil-A. I mean, that's the kind of schedule I'm on when we're in St. Joe. I'm trying to remember some of the other good ones. So I hope, let's see, anybody else helping us out here with some suggestions yet? Fire away. We need some help here. I've heard about Boudreaux's. I've heard some really good things about the Hoof and Horn. Let's see. What else have we got here? I mean, I can only really go a lot of places on reputation, because I haven't heard of them all and everything. I'm looking through some lists right now, and I'm like, gosh, I haven't heard of this place. Let's see what else we got here. Oh man, like I said, Hoof and Horn again. I have heard good things about that. I'm trying to remember if there's anything to eat over at Stony Creek. I know they got the bar, and that's a nice little hangout and everything. And it's not your typical hotel bar or anything like that, but that's a pretty cool place. Um, Man, just because it hits me pretty well, going on the list here. I mean, they have a Big Biscuit in St. Joe. Yeah, that would be a place that, I mean, camp gets over. There's some days if you go up for camp and it's a 9:15 practice and it ends at 10:40. Maybe a little brunch kind of action with going to the Big Biscuit. I could handle that. Um, you guys in the comment section are killing me with not having any good suggestions for Bobby for places to go eat in St. Joe. I wish I could remember the name of the. I say remember the name of the sports bar that's not there anymore. That's not going to help you, Bobby. I feel bad about that. There's my Chick-fil-A. Oh, gosh. See, that's the thing. I mean, I usually, if I'm eating in St. Joe, I'm eating at the dormitory with the kind of leftover foods that they give us at the media, the players are having. I mean, I think we're getting their hand me downs, but they take care of us. I got no complaints about that. Free food is like the dream for anybody in media. I mean, that's just the one thing you love the most. Like I said, Boudreaux's, heard great things. Mostly steak places. It's in St. Joe, I guess I've heard a lot about. I would definitely hit El Lazarone. Man, haven't been to Los Compadres, but I'm always up for a good Mexican place. Oh yeah, I've heard good things about Pizza Is it Tasio? Can't remember, but oh man, and we did go to group of us did go to River Bluff Brewing one year. Um, that was an Adam Teicher selection, and Adam did quite well. So salute Adam for that pick. I would definitely put that on the list. River Bluff Brewing, uh, good food, good drinks, can't beat that. Gosh, Bobby, if there's anything else that I can think of, and hopefully, we can get some more comments and everything like that. Anybody else brings up some good suggestions. Well, we do have, yeah, you're right, Bobby. We have Jazz and KC, so that's always a tough one right there. And man, I think I have now. There's a coffee place that I went last year before practice one day downtown, and I can't remember what it was called. Man, I'm failing you here. I never go out to eat very much in St. Joe. It's only like maybe once a year. So I never get to eat that much in town. So I feel bad now that I don't have any good ideas. Um, I saw Andrew offering to help me keep the lawn mowed during training camp. That's exactly what I need. Oh dear. So, Bobby, that's all I got for now. I will keep thinking about it though. So, if there's anything else that we come up with, we'll get it for you, Bobby. I promise you. Thanks for the super chat. That was very, very kind of you, Brian. If the O line starts again, slow again, can we finally talk about dumping Andy Heck? I mean, this is a make or break year for a couple of those coaches in the trenches. I mean, Andy Heck's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of money spent on that offensive line. It's the fourth most expensive offensive line in the league. He's got some big draft picks on there. As long as everybody stays healthy, this should be a pretty good offensive line. If it's not, yeah, we're going to have some serious questions. I mean, they've got one questionable spot, and I feel like with Jalen Moore as your fallback at right tackle, you're not in bad shape. So, I mean, if somebody beats out Jalen Moore, you're even in better shape. So this should be a good year for the offensive line. I mean, I don't know if he's on the hot seat. And I feel like Joe Cullen, with as many draft resources as he's been given the last two seasons, that he's going to be a little bit on the hot seat too. Need to get some production from both those groups, but I don't know. Andy Reid is one of the most loyal head coaches around, and I mean, he gives guys enough time to figure things out, and I mean, I do think this is a pretty critical year, though. So we'll see what happens, Brian. But let's put it this way: there shouldn't be any excuses, barring injuries, for a slow start for the offensive line. They should be in good shape to start this year. I mean, I do answer every question. So, Brian, why does Nick have beef with all Chief Dop? You were tearing me apart. Okay. I mean, and I have not monitored anything recently. I will just say that, um, and I'm not going to put Nick's name into this because Nick is not here to speak for himself. So I don't think that's fair for, for me to put anything into his mouth. So I'm going to be speaking on behalf of myself here and trying to represent the local industry as a whole. But we work really hard to produce the content that we produce, and I've not watched their show in a while, so I can't speak to how it is currently or has been. I know that there are some shows that used to be in this category and are not anymore, and so you can probably draw your own conclusions watching shows, because here's what I will say is that we work really hard, everybody, whether we are beat writers that are shooting videos on our phone, whether it's TV people, that their job is to shoot the best video that they've got with, and radio. I mean, there's all of this. Anybody who's out there shooting video at practices, in the locker room, after games, on the field during games. I mean, we all work really hard to do it. And, when it comes to even professional video, like TV stations shoot, I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it. I mean, they pay a lot for that equipment. I mean, they got $10,000 cameras out there they're shooting this stuff with, and everybody's gone to school to study this stuff to get better at what they do and to know how to and continue to keep up on the biz and continue to get better in editing and all of these things. And it really, I mean, it hurts, and from both just a personal standpoint and a professional standpoint when your content gets used elsewhere. And I'm not going to try and be whining about it or anything like this. Nobody wants to hear it, but it's frustrating. And like I said, I'm not going to speak to anybody in particular, but if you do hear any of us, and I'll say, if you hear me, I've made some remarks in the past about some sites that do it and everything. And once again, I'm trying not to cast aspersions because I haven't watched a lot of shows lately, but I'll just say the shows that use content from other producers and content providers, whether they're credentialed media or not, or it's NFL's content. I mean, if it's whomever it is, if you use it without permission and use it without compensating the content producer, not a big fan of that. And there are some people who are much more of not a fan of that than I am. I mean, I think we're all bothered by a little bit because, hey, at the end of the day, it takes food out of your mouth. It takes money out of your bank. I mean, I'm not going to go about down to taking food out of your mouth or anything. I mean, it's a little cliche, but that's what it is. I mean, by and large, I mean, I'm not going to say that, there's also some frustrations from time to time from people that wonder how some people can come to the conclusions that they do when they're not at practices and don't have that access and don't have that site. I mean, I'm not trying to be an elitist here or anything like this, but if you're not there, don't pretend that you're there. And then so once again, Brian, I'm not. I feel bad. It may be coming across that I'm casting aspersion on one side. The folks at All Chiefed Up have been very, very good to me. I want to say that too. Very respectful. Yes, I think that with my conversations, I don't think that I've had as much of an issue. I don't know if it goes on with anyone else still, but it is what it is. And like I said, I'm not trying to cast aspersions at all on this one group and one site or anything like this. There are others out there. There's a YouTube site that has Chiefs Digest name on it and everything. It is not me. I don't know who that clown is, and I'll definitely cast aspersions on that one. I haven't, gone the cease and desist route or anything like that, but it is definitely somebody who's trying to capitalize on me. I think they may have more followers than I do now, for crying out loud. I don't know how YouTube's system works to make that happen, but You hit a raw nerve there, Brian. But yeah, feel free if you want to go and find the other Chiefs Digest and share with YouTube your feelings on the fact that they've stolen my name and try to capitalize on it. Yeah, that annoys me. And I mean, that happens a lot, unfortunately. But you can't keep track of it all. But was recently alerted to that. So I will let it be. I don't, like I said, I'll ask me anything. I want to live up to that promise. I also don't want to be a jerk and just complain or anything like that. And um, like I said, I'm not trying to put words in Nick's mouth, but can we all just get along? Yes and no, Brian. That's all I'm going to say. that's my short answer there. Yeah, you can be nice. There's no reason. I don't, like I said, I don't wish anyone well. I wish everyone else. Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if Harrison was invited and we just didn't see him. I mean, there's clearly a lot of people that went to this wedding that I was wondering what. I mean, one of the premises of the upside of the Madison Square Garden location was the underground parking and the underground entrance, so that nobody had to go through the whole paparazzi thing and all that. And it seemed like 90% of the people that ended up on camera arriving were like the Chiefs players. So I don't know if they just didn't get parking spaces because it looked like they were all walking from like their Ubers or from their hotels nearby. So I don't know. Maybe Harrison was there and snuck in. Maybe he wasn't invited. Maybe he had plans with the family to be somewhere else. I don't know. A lot of us weren't invited though, Scott. So I don't feel bad. No, and like I said, if I got an invitation, I'm sure it would have been addressed to big guy. Since I don't think that Travis knows my name, but hey, if the fact that he calls me consistently big guy, I'm okay with that. Yeah, Andrew. I mean, I probably should have you, come over and help me with because you've seen what's going on back there. I need to trim back some of that brush badly. I can't even. Not that not that my deck is in good enough shape to be used, but I can't even get to the deck right now. So, oh, yeah, Nikki. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a good thing. My aunt was seriously allergic to poison ivy, and we lived out in the country. One year, there was the field across the street from us got a brush fire and caught on fire and everything like that. She was so allergic, she got um, poison ivy, poisoning in her lungs and had to be hospitalized, putting on steroids and everything and helping her breathe because, she was in such pain and agony from imagining a poison ivy rash inside your lungs. It's still just, can't believe that. So poor thing. She was like 6 years older than me. So she's probably like about 13 or 14 when that happened. That was rough. Scott, you going to be in St. Joe in 15 days, or are you going for camp? Is it something else? I mean, we've got 17 days until we get to go up there. So, if you're checking in early, though, that's great. And by all means, tell Bobby where to go for dinner. So, I need some help here. Oh, I could go for some Red Lobster cheese and biscuits right now. That sounds pretty good. Oh, Nikki, does Cyrus Allen actually get to play this year? I think he will. I mean, right now, I think he's in prime position to be the number 4 receiver. And, since I got the 19 team up here, let's look at that real quick. Number 4 receiver that year was McCole Hardman. He got 41 targets. Hey, he had 41 targets, 26 catches, 538 yards. That was his rookie year. I seriously think that Cyrus Allen can be in that ballpark. I mean, if he got to 538 yards, I would think that's a great season. That's a really good season for a rookie in an Andy Reid offense. I think 400 yards for him is a good benchmark. I mean, he might end up in that 200 to 400 range. I think he is capable of more than that. And again, I mean, if he ends up being the number 4 receiver, chances are with the 3 guys in front of him, none of them have really put together a full, complete 17-game season yet. So there's going to be probably some opportunities. There's probably, and like McCole Hardman that year, he's probably going to play himself into some certain packages. He's going to get a handful of starts, probably in some looks, whether it's, he's just in a specific group, or if they go with 4 receivers out of the box, I mean, he might get a handful of starts too. So I think he's going to play. I mean, the question's probably, how much time is Jalen Royals going to get? If there's a 6th receiver, how much time are they going to get? I think, but again, I mentioned this to Ryan and Chris over on the Locked On Chiefs earlier today. They, I get the sense that with Chad O'Shea, he's going to play the guys that he's got. And so if he's got 5 or 6 guys that are active on game days, he's got 6 receivers active, I think they're going to play. I don't think this is one of those things where he's going to shorten the bench and, and somebody who's just a special teams player isn't going to play. I mean, there's a possibility that Jalen Royals, plays more on special teams as a gunner and a coverage guy. Maybe he's a 4-phase player, but he doesn't play a lot on offense. I think he'll get some work too. But I certainly think at this point, Cyrus Allen is the 4th best receiver on this team. And I think he's capable of playing a couple of spots. So I think he should be able to make a decent impact this year. So I mean, I guess I've been saying I think he's capable of a 400-yard season, and I think the ideal goal would be Mecole Hardman 2019. If he could pull in that kind of a season, I mean, I think it's going to be for him. I cannot see it being a Demarcus Robinson year. I just can't see where it's just a redshirt year offensively, and he's just a special teams guy. I think he's going to be more than that. But the question is he going to be closer to Mecole Hardman rookie year, or is he going to be closer to Chris Conley? Because Conley was 31 targets, 17 catches, 199. That would be my floor for Cyrus Allen. And hey, and Chris Conley was a higher draft pick. So, I mean, that's in theory, Cyrus Allen should have a little bit, be more of a challenge. And you would think, okay, well, there's a chance maybe he doesn't have a good of a season as Chris Conley does. I think he's just a lot more polished. He doesn't have the traits. He's not as fast as Mecole and Conley. But I think he's at this point in his NFL career, I think he's a better route runner than both those guys were at this point. I think he's got a better grasp of the offense than those guys had. So that should help him out. Chris, should Mike Florio dedicate all of his time to soccer? I mean, I'm assuming that would be great. I mean, it would help out since my understanding is still that he doesn't cover the NFL because he said that he was never going to cover it anymore if Tyreek Hill was allowed to play in the NFL ever again. So I've just assumed he hasn't been covering the NFL, and sounds like soccer would be great for him. Has he been doing well, or is this? I mean, I'm all about Mike Florio sarcasm. So if that's what we're talking about here, I'm down for it. But hey, as usual, if Mike Florio does it and it doesn't appear on my Twitter timeline, I don't know what it is because I'm definitely not giving that corporate click. But Chris, would you ever sign an NDA to attend a wedding? Potentially. I mean, hey, it's probably not a bad idea because, there's always the legal argument that NDAs are not defensible. So you could just sign the NDA. And I don't even know what would be the penalty. And, I wonder what is the penalty for the Taylor Travis NDA for the wedding? I mean, can they fine you $1 million for sharing details and everything? I don't know. And I've heard that the wedding was filmed, so I'm assuming it's coming to a theater near you at some point. But I really enjoyed the Onion headline that Taylor Swift was adding 4 more wedding dates in like Boston, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Miami. Yeah, I'm assuming we're all going to be able to go to the movie theater and see the wedding, this fall. Good tie-in with the NFL season in October. Drop that and everything. As long as we get to see Paul McCartney, singing "I Want to Hold Your Hand" for the first time in 60 years, that'd be awesome. And I mean, I would have loved to have been invited to the wedding. Big Stevie Nicks fan as well, so that would have been great. But not invited. That's like all of us. I mean, the rest of us, I was not invited. The the MLB draft starts July 11th. Anyone you like to see the Royals draft? You like Eric Booth Jr.? I got to be honest. I mean, Joe, I mean, I like the Royals. Like I watch the Royals, although I don't watch the Royals because they're on a package that not identifiable on any of the streaming platforms that I have, and they don't play well enough for me to pay that $20 a month. So I can catch the games when they're on things that are not their own network. But I listen, I read, all the coverage and all that. So I'm fine with the team. I don't know anything right now about the NFL draft or the Major League Baseball draft. So I now know that Eric Booth Jr. is in the draft. So appreciate that. I wish I could give you more insight. I haven't even talked to anybody about the draft. So I was on Sunday Sound Off a few weeks ago with Jalen Thompson, and so we did talk Royals. We did talk a few things that he set me straight on, and and some things I still hope happen, but didn't talk MLB draft. So I got unfortunately nothing there for you. All right, Bobby, you got 5 written down. I hope that works out for you. Then, yeah, that's probably a good number. Yeah, that's probably a good number for St. Joe. So I hope you find some place you like. And like I said, I mean, I can speak for vouch for a couple of those. And I can tell you. I mean, hey, ACU Misfit, I'm definitely not ready for St. Joe's yet. I mean, every time I walk outside these days, especially when you walk out from the air conditioning, oh man, it has just been so hot and humid lately. It's just like gets you. And I seriously, I was at J.C. Penney the other day, and I saw that they had on sale on like some sort of clearance one of those hats with the fan in it and everything. And it was like $9, and I seriously thought about picking it up because, like, man, that on some of those days in St. Joe where there's just no breeze, and if you just had a little bit of a breeze, it would be so much more comfortable. I seriously thought about that do pulling that because it's going to be brutal. And you know what, Bobby, and that's one of the reasons why. I mean, even if there's a few things that I disagree with, I think it's more proper that I should always bring up any issues that I have with anybody else to them first. Before I ever say anything. Although for that guy that's out there, on YouTube with the Chiefs Digest account and doing fake Chiefs Digest videos, that's off because that crosses the major line. So I will gladly trash that guy without any additional consideration. So, but everybody else, no, I like I said, I know there's a lot of Chiefs fans out there that are just that want information. And you know what? If you hear something from somebody and you credit them, that's all I could ask for. Taking people's video and everything without permission, that's a big line in the sand for me. But your mileage may vary, so I'll stop whining. I already answered Brian's question. So, oh, let's see what we got next. Uh, Yeah, and Bobby, yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, and Cole, how about those Chiefs does the same thing. They've always given me credit and everything like that. So yeah, no, totally appreciate all of those things, and those I think are completely fair. And hey, and honestly, it is great. If I report something, I mean, that's the way it works, and that's I have absolutely no issues with and everything like that you say, and I appreciate that. Yeah, Bobby. Yeah, not using footage and everything. And that's probably just. I mean, that's just a good lesson for anybody. I know there's a lot of content producers out there in Chiefs Kingdom, and I'm really appreciate that a lot of them watch the show here, and participate like you, Bobby. I truly appreciate that. I mean, I think that's a compliment, and so I take it as such. But I mean, and some of the things that we've had done, I mean, I mean, we had one, the most egregious one, and there's been some egregious one. The most egregious one was we did an interview for the draft last year, and someone cropped out 75% of the screen and just cropped out the video of the player and used that almost in its entirety. And Didn't mention where it came from, didn't ask for permission, obviously didn't, offer any compensation for using it. Yeah, that was pretty low. But I don't want to make the whole show about that, so now I feel bad. O'Brien with a great question. Is Chad O'Shea the best move the Chiefs have made yet? I think it's a really good move. I mean, we're going to learn, Brian. I mean, we'll see how this group performs. Because, I mean, let's face it, the Chiefs are betting a lot that Chad O'Shea is going to move the needle. I mean, there's a lot bet, and I should probably kind of calculate that at some point about where the Chiefs are really putting the majority of their chips this season on who's going to make the biggest difference. I think there's obviously a lot being placed on Eric Bieniemy coming in. I think there's a smaller amount. I mean, DeMarco Murray, I think, is going to be pretty important too. Obviously, you signed Kenneth Walker. You got to bring him into the conversation. Some of your draft picks, Mansour Delane in particular, and Peter Woods, even R. Mason Thomas. I think there's some there. But Chad O'Shea might be, if he's not the most important addition to this team this year, I don't think he's any worse than second on that list. And there might be some debates about who's number one. Is it EB? Is it Delane? Is it some other draft pick? Is it a different free agent? There's a lot of options there. But I mean, let's face it, the Chiefs are bringing back not the entire wide receiver room, but the vast majority of it. I mean, there's a reasonable chance that the only person that makes this team in the receiver group that wasn't on the team last year is Cyrus Allen. And yet, the Chiefs think they're going to be better this year. And yes, some of that is betting on Kenneth Walker really changing the offense. And I think they're hoping that the changes that they're making overall in the offense. But betting on Chad O'Shea, I think is huge. They are really counting on him to change that wide receiver room around. Not only to develop the young talent that they have, but to improve the play and to fix some things that have been going wrong and to instill a culture in there. And that's the other thing too, because, remember, I mean, Tyquan Thornton is the veteran of that wide receiver room. I mean, he's the fifth year in the NFL, and we're not talking about the number one receiver on the team or a guy who has put up big numbers or anything. We're talking about a guy that not exactly a journeyman, but has had a couple of stops and hasn't yet established himself as like a top tier, top two, top three receiver. I think he has played at the caliber of like a top three receiver at times, but not like for a full 17 game season. So it's not like you look at this and say, oh, hey, yeah, the Chiefs have Tyquan Thornton. That guy's a veteran. He's a leader. He's, the number one guy. No, I mean, he's the veteran of that group, but it doesn't mean that he's necessarily the leader of the wide receiver group. I mean, that's usually reserved for your guys who have put up the bigger numbers or, higher draft picks. But again, Worthy and Rice are still fairly inexperienced in those roles. So, I mean, the Chiefs are counting on Chad O'Shea to basically be the veteran of that receiver room. He's got a ton of experience. He is, in football parlance, he is an alpha. He is going to let everybody in that room know who is the boss. And there are no questions or debates about it. And I think that's exactly what they need. And I think he could have a huge impact on this team. Bobby, that's truly appreciate that. I'm not a coffee drinker, but trust me, I can put that $5 to something else. I might put it towards Chick-fil-A because I do like my chicken minis. I am on a diet right now. I'm trying to eat better, so I have not had. I need to get away from carbs. So that's my big thing that I'm trying to cut down on. So we're trying to cut down on the sugars. No, Rick, if you're here, I have not been jumping on the sucralose bandwagon or anything. I'm still staying away from that. But trying to stay away from carbs. So one of my greatest vices are potatoes in all forms, particularly fried potatoes in all forms. I have not had potatoes in 8 days. So knock on wood, that's my proudest accomplishment of the week so far. So appreciate that, Bobby. That you've been very kind tonight with the super chats, and appreciate the chicken minis on you. So, Oh, hey, very kind words, Mo Alda. I appreciate that. Definitely hit the like. I appreciate what other guys other than Brian remind me to have for people to hit the like button and make sure you hit the bell for notifications. Make sure you're subscribed. A lot of people find out, I bet every time I end up saying that, to check and make sure you're subscribed, at least one person who is like here every single week looks and finds out that they're not subscribed. So see if you're that one this week. Justin, there's a report. Sounds like Tyreek Hill won't play this season. Yeah, I've been hearing that's a possibility for a few months now. We really haven't gotten an update on Tyreek for a while. The last thing that was really kind of any quote unquote official update was the allusion that he still needed to have the LCL surgery in April and that he was getting ready for that. I assume that he has had the LCL surgery. If he has not, still, that's like a 4 to 6 month recovery, at best. And so if he has not had that surgery, then no, I don't think he's going to be back this year. If there was a holdup for any reason, I mean, originally the plan, as my understanding, was that he was going to have that surgery in April. I haven't heard any updates whatsoever. The rumor, at least the word that I've been hearing from around the league, has been that no one's really shown any interest in Tyreek until he's healthy and available, and they can kind of see where he's at. Had he had the LCL surgery, if he had it in April, then end of October, beginning of November would be when he would probably be cleared to return to football. And, depending on the recovery, I mean, maybe he'd be ready to play football. But the most optimistic reports have generally been that, hey, if he can get back on the field by mid-season, that's probably the best possible scenario. But no, I mean, my impression and understanding for the last few months has been that there's a distinct possibility that Tyreek still doesn't play this season. That was a really bad knee injury. And he's 32. Things just don't bounce back the way that they do. And I do know Tyreek. I mean, he's a hard worker. I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever that he would do everything to get back onto the field. But hey, sometimes the spirit may be willing, but the body is weak, and that was a nasty injury. I mean, if he just honestly, from that injury and all the damage that was in that knee and at his age, if Tyreek comes back at all and is a halfway decent receiver, I'll be really impressed. That's just how nasty that injury was. So I wish him the best. I mean, I do. I don't, and that's one of the reasons why I think that nobody has signed him. And I think it would be smart for the Chiefs to wait and see. There's no guarantee he is going to play. So nobody really wants to sign a player and pay for the rehab. I mean, right now the Dolphins are on the hook for that. So let the Dolphins continue to deal with that and pay for the rehab. You don't want to take that on and then end up not having him at all. And, and Tyreek, I mean, to his credit, I mean, his agent's credit, I mean, Drew Rosenhaus, smart guy. He's not going to sign a 2-year deal with somebody and at a discount or anything of that nature. He'd rather, if Tyreek's not going to play, he'd rather hit free agency in March and see when everybody's got some money and everything like that, if he can get more than just a short-term prove-it deal. So I don't know, Justin. We'll see, but it would not surprise me. I mean, at the very most, I think you're looking at half a season, but you might not see him at all. Rebecca, I bet you're right. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who, if they put a wedding video out in theaters, I am sure that it would probably be like number one that week. Especially, hey, if you hit it at the right time. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Eras Tour, I want to say that that movie came out in October. I could be wrong, but that seems like a very Taylor Swiftish time. Let's see. No, she was born in November, right? Travis is in October, so hey, that's perfect timing. Pano, why on earth did Brett bring Snead back? What is his fetish with signing IR players? We already have IR Fulton. Why would he put another put the D-back lineup in such a delicate dilemma? I mean, I understand it with the LJ deal, with the Snead deal, because it's pretty low cost, low risk, high reward. Hey, is there a chance that it doesn't pan out? I mean, if so, you're basically at the league minimum. There's always a chance that, if it doesn't work out, I mean, I think there's a little bit guaranteed, but not much. So even if it ended up being a deal where you're bringing him in, he's there for camp and ends up on the practice squad, it's not an end of the world kind of deal. And I do. I mean, I've been mentioning this. I think the Chiefs are very sensitive to the idea of having veterans block some of their rookies. But I think the Snead bringing him in, I see two kind of elements of it. And one is definitely that the Chiefs have some concern about the depth of the cornerback room. I don't get any sense whatsoever, and I would be stunned if the Chiefs are bringing back L'Jarius Sneed with the thought that he's going to be one of their top two or three corners that he's starting. I don't think that's the case. I think this is more about, what if the guys that they are counting on don't pan out, or there's some injuries. I do think that the Chiefs are concerned about once they get to 4, 5, and if there's a six corner on the team, you know, assuming everybody's healthy, you got Mansour Delane, Noel Williams, Christian Fulton, a nickel at corner. So I still think Chris Roland Wallace makes the team safety and could end up playing a lot. I think right now, I mean, Jaden Canaday is my guy to most likely make the team. I think Cater Kohu has got some work to do to try to work his way to making this team. I think he's got some work to prove and things to do in training camp. So we'll see. But there's four corners that are making the team, I think, for sure. Then what do you have? I mean, then you're kind of going back to a little bit of what you had last year. Yeah, you can go with a Kevin Knowles, although honestly, from what we saw during OTAs, minicamp, I would probably at this point give the edge to Melvin Smith in that job. But again, that's, those are undrafted free agents in year two. Maybe there's some undrafted free agents from this year that might end up competing for one of those jobs. I think there was a lot more enthusiasm for Kyer Elam earlier in the offseason. He didn't stand out in the OTAs the way I thought he might based on some of the reviews that I was hearing. So I think that's the thing. I mean, I think the jury is out on guys like Kyer Elam, Melvin Smith, Kevin Knowles, the undrafted free agent class. There's a chance that maybe you do need like a L'Jarius Sneed for depth. I also think that there's something to the notion that the Chiefs may be considering him in kind of a hybrid role, that maybe he's in a little bit of a safety role. He wouldn't be the first guy that when he gets older and a little bit slower, you consider moving to safety. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed would, I think, be a fantastic strong safety. He's tough. He's a good tackler. He's not, no, the knee kind of keeps him from being as fast as he was in his prime, but L'Jarius still, I mean, was a pretty fast guy. So, even if he's not at top end speed anymore, you don't need that as much. I mean, that agility that knee is probably taken from him. It's a little bit different skill set at safety, especially strong safety. I mean, I think I would have more hesitation with L'Jarius as a free safety, but I think they have better options there. But if he ended up playing more of a hybrid role or was a box corner, box safety, I could see that, a good spot for him. I can see him in some niche roles. So I'm with you on the concern that if the Chiefs were bringing back L'Jarius Sneed with the idea that he's going to be a starter, I think that is going to end poorly for them. If they're bringing him back because they feel like he can play a niche, there's a specific role that he can kind of play as a fourth or a fifth corner, or going back and forth between corner and safety. I'll be. Let's put it this way: I'll be very interested to see where L'Jarius Sneed is working on the first day of training camp practice to see if he's working with corners or safeties, and kind of where he's working in general and where he would be on the depth chart. That's going to be one of the first questions I've got. So we'll see what happens, but I'm with you. But I think it says more about their concern about the bottom of the depth chart at corner rather than the top of the depth chart. Oh, there you go, Brian. Glad to see you get to walking in. And man, are you doing two 8-mile walks a day? That's impressive, man. Glad to see you back at it. But no Red Lobster biscuits for me. Yeah. Oh, that's the problem with my diet plan, is that exercising has been hard because I had a foot injury that I've been working around, and I have a partially torn rotator cuff. So, man, just talk about old age getting me and everything. Yeah, Nikki, the strict carbs for me that really get me, potatoes are one, rice is the other, and Dr. Pepper is the third. So those are the three I got to work on. And Pano, white foods are the worst enemy for diabetics. It's probably true. Also, I found out taking your medications at the appropriate times also helps out a lot. So just things you learn in your journey through life. Oh man, Bobby lost 32 pounds in under 4 months, and you also love chicken minis. Uh, yeah, I tell you, I mean, and if I told you some of my things on that I my diet and everything, and honestly, if I liked coffee, I would probably solve a lot of my problems. I do I do drink a lot of iced tea in replacement of Dr. Pepper, so that helps. But yes, I have, and this will probably horrify people. So there for a while, I mean, I'd say my typical Chick-fil-A meal for breakfast would be chicken minis, a chicken biscuit, hash browns, and I was so plugged for energy that I would be having a Dr. Pepper and a refill. So totally terrible, terrible, terrible. Now I've eliminated the hash browns. I've replaced the chicken biscuit with an egg and cheese muffin. So a little bit more protein, which is good. Um, the bread in the mini and the muffin, not great, but I think the muffin's probably a little. I haven't looked at the carbs on that one. I think it's a little bit better than the biscuit, so we got that going for me. But no to the hash brown, so we're eliminating the carb and the calories there. The sugar, oh yeah, but I either do one Dr. Pepper or no Dr. Pepper. Today I did go to Chick-fil-A for breakfast today and had to one Dr. Pepper. Some days I just get tea instead. So I mean, but I try to monitor. I mean, I'm allowing myself some Dr. Pepper, just not as much as I used to. So welcome to the journey, everyone. Rebecca, so how does that work? The Dolphins pay for all the rehab costs, et cetera, for Tyreek. That's exactly how it works. When players, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, it's also, I mean, honestly, it's not totally dissimilar to, workers' compensation, except there's obviously, there's more freedom about, who your doctors are and who gets to treat you and everything like that. My understanding is that generally players are allowed to choose, who they work with from doctor standpoint and the physical therapy, recovery, all of that, the kind of thing. Tyreek's situation is going to be a little bit unique because a lot of times when a player gets released while dealing with an injury or released due to a failed physical designation resulting from a on the field injury, I mean, a lot of times, like their surgery has already been performed. In this case, Tyreek was going to have another surgery after um, the initial surgery. He was going to have a second surgery, so that would have been when he was no longer on the team. Well, the team's still responsible for the cost. So yeah, that the Dolphins and the NFL they pick up the cost for it. My understanding is that it may be paid from an NFL fund that the teams contribute to, but things change a little bit if a team were to sign Tyreek. The Dolphins would still be responsible for aspects and responsible for the cost of aspects of his rehab, and they would still be responsible for his surgery and the costs associated with that. But the team would pick up a little bit more of the responsibility for getting him ready to play. Here's the other thing that. Honestly, I think it's a great question, Rebecca, because I think this part gets overlooked a lot. Is that teams have limited resources. They have limited space. So as far as rehab goes, so a lot of times there are players who when they get placed on injured reserve. I mean, there's times these players have schedules that are completely different from the rest of the team. You might not see that guy, for weeks or months on end. because they have their rest and recovery rooms, and they have their training rooms and everything, and they've got to try and make sure they can schedule that so that they've got the players who are on the team getting ready for games who have access to those rooms all the time, but then filter into players who are on injured reserve, and whether it's short term or long term. I mean, you've got players, for instance, that you put on injured reserve that you're keeping there for, like, during training camp, that you keep on injured reserve all season, and you're doing that for the most part because these are guys that, hey, I mean, Jake Brenningstool, great example. I mean, it wasn't he did not have necessarily a season long ending injury, but had one that was going to keep him out for a long term of time, but the Chiefs still wanted to have the ability to keep him on the roster for 2026. So they kept him. They could have released him. They could have reached an injury settlement and said, okay, you know what? This is a 6-week injury. So we're going to pay you for 6 weeks game checks. We'll pay so much money. We think that this is what your rehab is going to cost. So we'll pay that to you as part of the cost of everything. And then, you're on your own. That's what those are what you hear when you hear of injury settlements and everything like that. That's a team, honestly, just trying to get a guy out of their training space that they can clear room because it's somebody that they're not planning on keeping on the team necessarily for the long term. Sometimes these players return. If there's a rule, if you pay a player like a 6-week injury settlement, you can't sign them during that 6 weeks. It has to be after that 6 weeks is over before you can sign them. Another team could sign them, but you can't sign them. So there's little tricks and everything like that. But when you hear about like a player reaching an injury settlement with the team, that's because the team wants its rehab facilities available for its other players. But and like I said, with players who may not see their teammates, they're coming in and they're going through rehab and everything, oftentimes while the rest of the team is on the field. So they're coming in and they're doing their rehab, like when the team's doing a walkthrough or they're on the field for the afternoon practice. Maybe it's early in the morning, maybe it's late at night. I mean, they're coming in when other guys on the team aren't there and not in the facility, or maybe they're, like I said, they're on the practice fields. So it's an adventure. I mean, especially when you're on long-term rehab and you're injured in the NFL. And again, that's another reason why a team is not going to necessarily want to sign Tyreek until he's fully healthy, because if they sign him, then they're the ones that are going to have to be doing his rehab to get him ready to play. You're not going to turn him over to, another trainer, someone that works outside the team and outside the facility. You're not going to do that with one of your players. You want them inside your own building, working with your own doctors and trainers. So, I mean, there's a lot more to it than you realize, and it's a lot of juggling of space and everything. But, and I would not expect anybody in the NFL to want to add a player to their roster that honestly is just going to take up rehab resources that they may not have. So it's an odd way sometimes the business works, Rebecca. But I thought that was a great question. Yeah, Donald. Exercise is good. Although I have found over the last couple of weeks that my blood sugar actually increases when I'm exercising. There's some exercises that actually do increase your blood sugar, and I get it, because if you're tapping into your fat that you've stored, you're going to be releasing some carbohydrates into your system and everything, and some sugar into your system. So there's at least a logic to it, but man, is it counterintuitive. Pano, why not just release Wiley? Why hang on to him for these seasons when he has contributed absolutely nothing? Why not free up that roster spot for someone who may have potential? And I mean, a good question. Obviously, when he had the ACL, you put him on injured reserve. He's not taking up any space in year one. He's not taking a roster spot from anybody. He's on injured reserve. Just, talking about rehab and everything. Honestly, even like that first season with the ACL, he had that, I think, in October. Honestly, he was probably still, I mean, just I mean, he would have started rehab of a degree few weeks after the surgery. So it would have been in season, but a lot of his rehab would have been postseason. So it wouldn't be necessarily a big, deal. Here's the other big part of it though. And let me look at his, finances are going to play into it too. And obviously what you think about the player and whether or not there's an upside. And the Chiefs with Jared Wiley certainly thought that there was an upside. So, they don't, that was his rookie year when he had the ACL injury. So they didn't want to walk away from that, especially because there would have been some financial cost to it too. Now, rookie contracts aren't that big. I get it. But let's see how much guaranteed. He had like 688,000 guaranteed. So, had they released him when he had the injury, you would have obviously paid for his recovery, and you would have eaten about, let's see, you would have eaten his rookie season base and signing bonus, which was guaranteed. So you would have eaten about 1.4 million. It wouldn't have been a huge savings. You would have saved 960 in 25 and, 1.075 million this year. So almost about $2 million, I guess you would have saved over the course of 3 seasons. Technically would have cost you a little bit. So it's not a huge amount, but it's a little bit of a factor. But still, it's going to come down to whether or not you think that this player can help you. And so, Chiefs wanted to see what Jared Wiley could do. So there's a reason why you keep him. They didn't get much out of him last year, but again, that's kind of the reality of ACL injuries, is that you're not going to be anywhere close to where you were the year, the first year back from the surgery. That's why, I will say, have some modest expectations for Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to be Patrick Mahomes in his entirety this year. I think that knee will affect some of him. I don't think it's going to affect the arm, obviously. I think he's still going to be able to make a lot of the same throws, same platforms. The mobility is probably what's going to be tested this year. So we'll see what happens. I fully expect that Patrick Mahomes is going to be a lot better in 27 than he will be in 26, but he still may be pretty good in 26. Wiley, this is the make or break year. This is the year where you find out. And, hey, if Jared Wiley doesn't perform, if he doesn't earn a job in training camp, he could be gone. If he doesn't have a breakout year this year, and I'm not even talking like 600 yards, but I'm talking about just being a consistent contributor that you can count on and not making mistakes, then that's what you need. You need something from him this year. He's got to prove himself. And the Chiefs, they're like a lot of NFL teams. A lot of teams, unless somebody just makes egregious off the field problems, and obviously Rashee Rice has had some egregious off the field problems, but the Chiefs did not walk away from him either. The Chiefs aren't different from a lot of NFL teams. The cost of these players is insignificant enough, or sometimes the penalty for like walking on a first round pick. Those contracts now are entirely guaranteed these days. So you're not necessarily going to walk away from a first round pick until the guaranteed money's gone. Until at least year 3. And that's, Jared Wiley. Braylon Speaks is kind of, when the Chiefs walked away was year 3. That's when you're usually going, unless somebody really, really doesn't work out and somebody just isn't jibing with your culture, they're not the player that you thought you were getting. Year 3 is the breakthrough. That's the one. So this is going to be it's a big training camp for Jared Wiley, and it'll be a big season for Jared Wiley. Rodney, I feel like the loss of Leo isn't being talked about enough. Who steps in his role? I think you're right. I'm going to say you're right, and then I'm going to tell you reasons why not to be too concerned. But I'm with you, because I do think that the Chiefs are definitely going to miss the things that Leo did. And, in more ways than one, it's not just defense, it's special teams too. He was arguably one of their best special teams players. And obviously he showed that on kicks. He and go back to Justin Reed. Justin Reed was a tremendous impact on special teams on blocking kicks, and Leo's had the same kind of success too. That it's going to be missed. The mitigating factor is, remember, Leo only played, he was a halftime player. He played 50% of the snaps the last 2 or 3 seasons. So he wasn't the full-time player. How are you going to replace him is a good question, and how are you going to replace those snaps? I think it's going to be in a variety of ways. I don't think that the Chiefs are replacing him full time with a linebacker. Um, I mean, it was really hard to tell during mini camp how the Chiefs were kind of addressing that third linebacker spot because it was a passing camp. So offense is passing the ball almost every single time. So the Chiefs were in at least nickel most of the time, if not dime, with 6 defensive backs out there. So wasn't a lot that you really saw the first team defense with 3 linebackers on the field. So that makes it a little bit hard to evaluate what the Chiefs are going to do since we just saw them in a lot of pass defense packages. So whether it's Jack Cochran, whether it's Cooper McDonald, my gut says Cooper McDonald will be, first man up at that spot. Could be wrong, but I think he's the better equipped for that. Jack Cochran, I think, is a little bit more universal. So I think you'd love to have him as your fourth linebacker who can come in and, fill in it at Mike linebacker if necessary. He could probably play all 3 spots. But Cooper's a big guy, big, strong guy. So I like him in that Leo role. There's a lot of things he can't do. I mean, Leo was getting to be really, really good at, playing on the ball on the line of scrimmage. And they were doing some things with him as a pass rusher at times and a blitzer. You're going to lose that. He wasn't the greatest cover guy, but he was also strong. So, he could affect the passing game. I mean, and he played coverage periodically and wasn't terrible at it. And he knew what he was doing. So, I mean, hey, there might be some drop off. Absolutely. I mean, Leo was a really, really good player, and they figured out how to use him. But when you talk about those 50% of the snaps he was on the field for, if it ended up being like, hey, a Cooper McDonald takes 30% of those snaps, and a safety or a corner takes 20% of those snaps, and you're just putting a defensive back in the box, wouldn't surprise me, especially because, teams, you're still going to see a lot of formations with 3 wide receivers on the field. But the other thing that teams are doing is they're using a lot more 2 and 3 tight end sets. So the question is going to be, would you rather have 3 safeties on the field and have a safety out there covering a tight end? Or do you want a third linebacker out there on the field covering a tight end? You've got the flexibility with Drew Tranquil, who's a decent pass coverage linebacker and better suited for those positions, with Drew in your base on the weak side. And if you're using like a linebacker, a safety as a linebacker, and that could be Chamari Connor's role, it could be Jaden Hicks' role. It may even just depend on which side of the field you're on. I mean, because Spags has done that in the past, where it's the offense that kind of dictates maybe who's going to be in the box. You're adjusting your defense. You got 3 safeties on the back end. You see which side is heavy and which way is going to be the strong side. That's where your safety comes in to cover the tight end. And the other safety rolls back in like a strong roll, or I think Alohi Gilman's going to be your free safety most of the time, but there can be a lot of rotation there. So I think it might be that you end up seeing a safety in that Leo role a lot more than we did last year, in the last couple of years. I could be wrong, but that was at least the sense I got from minicamp. But again, it was a lot of pass coverage. We'll see what that they do. When it comes, I mean, base 4-3. I mean, I think it's going to be Cooper McDonald. But you're right. I mean, Leo is a loss. He's a really good player. He's strongest guy in that team, pound for pound, and he had. I mean, there was a lot of things he could do, and I think you're going to miss him on special teams too, more than people realize. Yeah, Rebecca, for someone like Kittle, the 49ers will pay for the rehab no matter what location he's rehabbing in or just at the team facilities. Yeah, and most of the time, I mean, if its player is on the team will want them training at their facility. They want that control. They don't want, unless it's somebody that they work with. And there's certainly, I believe, some situations around the league. Great examples of that may be like in Dallas, where, that's probably different because they've got a huge facility there. So they probably have somewhat more on quote unquote unlimited resources for rehab at the Star in Frisco. I don't know. Every team is a little bit different, but I will say, just the Chiefs, even though they've got the KU Med Center, athletic athletic center there in the building. You remember, I mean, they're pushed for a lot of space in that building right now. So they have not expanded like the training rooms and everything like that. They've expanded the weight rooms and everything like that, but they haven't added really any training facilities over the years. So you only have so much space and area to work with and everything, and it's probably a smaller space than you think about. And one of their, I think they have like a massage room now in a place that used to be like a media workroom too. It was before my time, but they've adapted spaces over the years and everything. But they've just run out of real estate. I mean, that's why they built on for some of the player stuff that they've done the last couple of years, but they still don't have a ton. And that's been one of the complaints that the players have on the NFLPA survey with the Chiefs, is that they have a lack of training facilities and rehab facilities in that building. That's something that they're certainly going to fix in 2031 when they move to the new training complex. I mean, they're definitely going to add more space for that. And if they're smart, they'll set it so that they can expand it over the years as needed. You got to be able to adapt to your census, I guess, of number of players who are hurt and need rehab. And there's times that you get just overwhelmed. I mean, look at the Chiefs. They've had some seasons where they end up with guys, close to 20 players on injured reserve by the end of the season, and you can't always handle that. So they do occasionally farm out rehab. I mean, you're not going to do it for your star players, but that can happen. They prefer to have it all at the team facilities. But yeah, they can also just pay players to go away and rehab on their own, and just pay them for their lost wages and the estimated cost of their rehab. If it ends up being more, there's an issue of some sort. I mean, players have a mechanism to come back and try and get that paid for, so it's not out of pocket. But yeah, I mean, consider NFL injuries, and in essence, I mean, they are, for all intents and purposes, worker compensation situations. It's the employer. If you're hurt on the job, the employer is responsible for it. And that's why, like, training camp injuries and the worst are like rookie mini camp injuries, when you've got, in the Chiefs situation, 90 plus players who don't have contracts and aren't your draft picks. And hey, if they get hurt, you're going to be picking up some of the costs of those guys getting hurt. So, and now I don't know how that all works for sure. I know those players that come in, they have to sign short-term contracts and everything. They're not signing long-term, but they also have to sign in insurance waivers and all these things. And they may have insurance provided for them for exactly that. I'll admit, I don't know how that works out for the rookie minicamp and everything, but yeah, I mean, that's the easiest way to kind of consider it, is that NFL injuries are just like workers' comp. I mean, the employer is responsible if you get hurt on the job. If you don't get hurt on the job, well, then your contract could be in danger. And we've seen that happen before too, where players have lost their contract because they got hurt either, doing something they weren't supposed to do, playing a sport they weren't supposed to do. I mean, we've heard players hurt. I think somebody got hurt changing their oil. Maybe that was a baseball player. That was like Jeff Kent or something. We had the Broncos guy, offensive lineman, I think got released from his contract because he got hurt. He hurt himself working out on his own. You hurt yourself working on your own, not the team's fault, not their responsibility, and now your contract might be in danger. Opano, I get it. I mean, IR players can be frustrating, especially when they end up, going on IR repeatedly. And sometimes it's just bad luck, though. I mean, and sometimes it's bad luck, and you just got to eat it and deal with it. And sometimes it's worked out. I mean, the Chiefs have had that problem before with other players. I mean, Brian Cook, when he got hurt with his ankle, I mean, the Chiefs were fortunate he didn't miss a lot of time. Juan Thornhill, I guess was kind of the same way. I mean, but even like the Juan Thornhill, I just remember, him in his first year back from the ACL, he was not Juan Thornhill. He was not his best. I mean, they had to kind of, Chiefs had to kind of plod through a player who was 80% of himself. And so you just never know. Rebecca, who's the player that you find the most entertaining or enjoyable on media availability? I mean, honestly, as a reporter, usually you like the people who make your job the easiest. And that's one area where I do always give Patrick, a pass, because even though I know that he's been asked the same questions thousands of times, and it's got to be annoying and everything, but he never gives the impression about the fact that he's annoyed by any of the questions. He always, even if he thinks that your question is from Mars, he always tries to give you a good answer to it. I mean, he's never been short with any of us. He's his most entertaining though when he just asked a question that makes no sense to him though. Not like in an, well, maybe in an insulting way, but usually it's only when it's a question about, I remember when he was asked a few years ago about how he struggled for a couple of years, and he just kind of muttered under his breath, "I struggled." That was classic. And we all asked some bad questions from time to time, but maybe word things not the way we wanted to. So maybe it just comes out that way. But Patrick's usually always got a good sense of humor. There's really, I mean, I always hate trying to single guys out, even though I do want to, recognize some of the ones that I think do a good job and at least try to make our jobs easier, at least try to work with us and not be too difficult. I mean, I can't. I mean, there's a couple of guys, now that struggle. So I'm not gonna be negative today, night, Rebecca. I'm not gonna do that. So we're focusing on entertaining or enjoyable. Um, I mean, there are a lot. So again, I feel bad about, and there's guys I'm gonna miss. I mean, Trent McDuffie was always a fun dude. He was understated and a little bit dry, but he could be really funny sometimes. And correct me, oh, man, I tell you what, I know Jalen Watson's going to be missed big time in that cornerback room. I mean, he was the socializer. He was the guy that brought everybody together. I mean, he was the one that would organize, nights on the town and, organize things at everybody's houses and make sure, everybody was showed up on time and knew what they were doing and, and figuring things out and scheduling team, group dinners and all that fun stuff and activities. He was the party director in a good way. I mean, not that we're getting in any trouble or anything, but Jalen Watson was kind of the straw that stirred the drink in the defensive back room. So I think that the Chiefs are actually going to miss him from a social team building standpoint. We'll see who picks it up there. Gosh, I'm trying to think about who cracks me up the most these days and who's the funniest. James Winchester's always been hilarious, so he's always entertained me. Man, we'll miss Juju. Juju was pretty funny. Gosh, Nico's a lot of fun. Xavier Worthy's pretty fun. I mean, there's some guys who are just a little shy and they don't talk a lot, and Xavier's kind of quiet, but he can be a pretty fun dude. Man, I feel like there's somebody that I'm missing, and obviously, I have a soft spot for all the offensive line guys. Everybody knows that, so I won't dwell on that or anything. But Karlaftis is kind of quiet, but he's a good dude. Drew Tranquil is probably up there. He and Nick Bolton are both really, they'll answer anything. I mean, they will always stop. I mean, doesn't matter. They'll talk every single day if you got a question for them and everything. They'll never turn you down. So I respect that. So I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm gonna love having Eric Bieniemy back. I mean, EB, and I think from watching him a little bit and since he's left Kansas City and everything, I think and even when he was, we talked to him earlier. I mean, I think he's a lot more comfortable than he was, the last time he was around. So I'm looking forward to that because EB as the running backs coach was the best coach interview I've ever done. I mean, he was the best. And I thought he was a little bit more buttoned up. I mean, still willing to let it fly, but I thought he was a little bit more buttoned up as a coordinator. But I think he's just more comfortable in the role now and everything. And he's not trying to necessarily prove anything to anybody. He's just letting the chips fall where he may. That's what I would do if I were him. And so I'm looking forward to this year. I think we may get EB unleashed, and I'm ready for that. Pano, so is Powell going to be a 3-down player? Am I having a brain cramp here? I mean, I guess I am. Powell. Who are we talking about? Am I just, am I just losing it, Pano? Um, I could be. We're. I mean, usually I usually I hang in there until much later in the show, but I'm like, am I missing something? I mean, I know it's not Cornell Powell, right? Are you talking about Peter Woods, or am I just completely ignoring something really, really obvious here? Um, Man, I feel terrible. Yeah, if you're still around, Bono, throw it in there and remind me who you're talking about, and then and then maybe hopefully I won't feel as dumb as I feel right now. Um, Danny, is it safe to think the Chiefs will be playing a lot of big nickel type defensive sets this year? It seems like lack of linebacker depth sort of precludes it. Yeah, and like I was talking about earlier, I mean, this is exactly it. It's, what's it going to kind of look like this year, with that and those nickelback situations, because I don't think it'll be like it has been the last couple of years. And obviously one way it's going to change is that it certainly, I mean, the Chiefs are giving every indication right now of Chamari Connor going straight the strong safety and not playing the slot that much. Doesn't mean he won't end up, maybe a couple of times here and there, or that he's going to cover or safeties a little bit more. And like I said, I mean, I also can see a lot of, nickel packages where it's a safety that's coming in and in the box, a little bit more. I mean, you want to be able to, I mean, basically what you got to be able to do in the NFL of today in 2026, at least offensively, is that you've got to be able to prepare for teams to run the ball with 2 and 3 tight ends on the field. So you got to be able to deal with that. And then again, you also have to deal with the possibility that teams are going to throw the football with 2 or 3 tight ends on the field. So, you can't necessarily, you may not necessarily see, or maybe you will see more dime out of teams this year. Maybe I think the Chiefs may play more dime this year, so that you've got both a safety and a corner on the field, where you can kind of handle teams that way a little bit. I mean, if you're in some of these roles we're talking about, and Danny, I see your other comment too about Bassa would fit in the big nickel role well too. Bassa is a real enigma and mystery to me, because I still don't know if the Chiefs have figured out how to use him, and I don't know where his skill set really lies. And obviously this goes back to the draft day with him. We talked about it, is that he's a hybrid. That's the nice way. The other way, whether if he succeeds, he's a hybrid. If he fails, he was a tweener that you just couldn't figure out what to do with. I mean, he's really kind of stuck between safety and linebacker. He could be a really good fit in a big nickel type role. Is he good enough? Is he good enough to cover a tight end? That's going to be a question if you end up playing part of it this year. I don't know. I don't know if I've seen that yet. I don't know if the Chiefs have seen that yet. I think they would love to try that, but I don't know if we're gonna get that from him. And and that goes back to the draft pick with Bassa. If Bassa ends up being Dorian O'Daniel 2.0, which you get just 4 years of A+ special teams play out of him, it's not a bad pick. You would love to be able to get some defense out of him, and it's not too late to give up on that possibility. But this is a perfect example. I mean, that's a role that I think he could play. It's a role. Well, it's a role. Let's put it this way: he should fit into. It's just, does he have the skill set and the ability to play that? I hope we find out this year, because I do think that's something that would be a good fit for him. But doesn't necessarily mean that, I mean, again, you kind of end up in that tweener spot for reasons. I mean, he's a linebacker because maybe he's not fast enough to be a safety, but he's not a safety because maybe he's just a little bit too big for that role. And I mean, he can go back and forth. Although I mean, like you pointed out there, I mean, I think a big nickel role for Bassa would fit really well. I just don't know if we're going to see it or not, or if he's got the skill set to do it. Big Daddy, do you see any tight ends stepping up into a bigger role? Gosh, this is going to be the number one question. I mean, somebody has to. Somebody has to. I mean, Travis Kelce. I mean, it's evident by the NFL Top 100 list coming out, and I get it. It's not a perfect ranking whatsoever. And I've seen some of the player ballots for this thing and the anonymous ballots, and some of them are just absolutely hysterical and make no sense. So, you have to take it with a grain of salt. But hey, players in the league still consider Travis Kelce to be a really good player. I mean, and you look at the numbers. I mean, is he the best tight end in the league anymore? No, he's not. He's 37 and he's not putting up those kind of numbers anymore. And he makes some mistakes here and there. The drops obviously are the biggest mistakes that really show out. That's been his biggest bugaboo the last couple of years, has been the drops popping up. But he's still a really good tight end. I mean, I would argue that he's still top 5 in the league as far as tight ends go. And that's a reason why the Chiefs still have him around, because he's still a top 5 tight end. I think this year he's still capable of putting up those 700, 800-yard seasons. It's not what you expect from Travis Kelce, but you know what? It's going to be about 500 or 600 yards more than you're going to get from anybody else on this team. Anybody else that was on this team last year at tight end. I don't know what's the situation with Noah Gray. Last year was a struggle. I can't say it was the quarterback, because Patrick Mahomes. I mean, yes, there were struggles with the offense, so that was an issue, but that was a real step back year for Noah. I thought all the tight ends struggled in OTAs, and I'm willing to give them a pass on that because Patrick Mahomes was not out there. They were all working with brand new quarterbacks with Justin Fields and Garrett Nussmeier, so that's a challenge. I just didn't see any consistency from any of them. I mean, Trey Watson, if he could be a surprise for you, be great, because he looked like he had some really good highs during OTAs. It's just that he also had some drops too, and he had some low moments. So he's not a perfect player. Mason Pline is huge. And if that's a guy that can come in and be a blocker for you, I think that's fantastic. But, it's not necessarily a solution. You drafted Jared Wiley. I mean, Jake Brainingstool is a physical specimen for a tight end, but he went undrafted for a reason. I mean, there's some imperfect solutions, and I don't think there's anybody coming in the door that's going to, change things around. They need somebody to step up. And I mean, do I think all those guys are capable of it? Yeah, I mean, I do. And maybe if just one of them can, kind of push their way to the top and just take advantage of the opportunities that they get. Now, I will say this is that, I'm not sure the numbers back this up, but the scouting report on Mahomes is generally, at least what I've been told that other teams typically say about Mahomes and what they see from him, is that he's dependent on his bigger targets, that he's always going to favor the bigger targets. Now, not entirely true, because Tyreek Hill was not the biggest target, but that was probably a little bit the exception that proves the rule. But that the players, at least he looks for the most, are the guys who are bigger guys. So that favors like a Tyquan Thornton. It doesn't necessarily favor a Noah Gray. And I think that's always been, one of the reasons when even the limited opportunities we've seen Noah step in for Travis and fill in for him in a handful of games, he's never really gone off. I mean, he hasn't had, one of these games where it's just like 8 catches for 120 yards. He's a little bit smaller tight end. Brainingstool is not that guy. I mean, he's a big target. That should be somebody that Mahomes can see out in the field. Now, you got to get out there on the field. Wiley's a good size. I want to say he's 6'5". I think he's listed at that. I mean, I feel like when I've talked to Jared that he's a little bit taller than I am. I'm 6'4", so I feel like that's a legit 6'5". Trey Watson's good size. And Mason Pline's is like 6'7". Again, I don't expect him to be a huge receiving target, although he had a couple of really nice pass catches in that mini camp. So maybe there's some explosion there. Maybe there's something you can tap into. But I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, after the offseason workouts, that was now my number one concern for this team. I don't know what happens after Travis Kelce. I don't know who the second option is. I don't know who the third option is. I don't know what they're going to do if they had to play 2 or more games without Travis Kelce. I think it's going to be difficult. So we'll see what happens. But that's one of the things that I think absolutely have to get an answer to fairly early in training camp, is to figure out what in the world that they've got going on at tight end, Big Daddy. Alicia, you don't know who they don't want rehabbing on their own. Rasheed Rice, keep that guy in the facility 24 hours a day. Yeah, that is true. So, yeah, but that's, hey, that's why you got to get them some things that they can work with in prison. I mean, like I said, I can't imagine they would let him have resistance bands in prison, but, maybe there's a chance. Big Daddy, what is your opinion on the backup quarterback situation? Who will win out? I'm assuming Justin Fields is going to win out. It was really interesting to me that the OTAs was pretty much exclusively. I mean, I think I mentioned this earlier. If I didn't, I'll say it. There were 8 practices that were open to the media, or excuse me, there were 8 practices in total during OTAs. We saw 4 of them, so we didn't see them all. So I don't know if Chris Oladokun got some work in those other 4 practices, but he didn't in the practices that we saw now. And we're talking about just the limited 11 on 11 and no pads and 7 on 7. And Mahomes did some work in 7 on 7 too. I mean, Odokun's here for a reason. I assume it's break glass in case of emergency. I mean, could he end up being the backup if just everybody else fails? Yeah. I mean, he's here for that reason. Is he here because, Garrett Nussmeier may not be ready? Yeah. I think that would. Could the Chiefs keep 2 quarterbacks on the active roster and 2 on the practice squad? 100% possibility. They've done it for short periods of time before, so I could absolutely see it again. I mean, I assume Justin Fields is going to win the job. They invested a little bit in him. They obviously like what they saw there for a reason. I'm not going to make final judgment just based on the 4 workouts that we have seen. I'm sure that he probably had some up and down moments. I mean, in the 4 practices we saw, he had some up and down moments. So you got to hope that the longer he's here, that the more comfortable he's going to settle into and kind of just, at least be more comfortable with the role and with the receivers and with the progressions and everything like that. That's a lot to figure out. I'll be honest. I mean, the guy I see in Garrett Nussmeier, you see a lot of the little traits that he picked up last year when he was hurt that are still there. That was kind of one of the knocks that was going around on draft day, was just that because of the injury, he picked up a lot of bad habits that need to be corrected. And I certainly saw that this summer. So, I mean, practice squad candidate, absolutely. Do I think he's challenging for the backup job? I would be stunned. You'd be able to knock me over with a feather if Garrett Nussmeier made the 53 or he beat out Justin Fields. I mean, at this point, I mean, I think Oladokun would be the better option. We'll see what they do, but I'm assuming Justin Fields is going to win that job, and I think he'll settle down. I think there's still obviously some things that he can learn that the Chiefs can help him out with. Mahomes can help him out with. I mean, this is the first time that the Chiefs have had really a backup that young behind Mahomes. I mean, Gardner Minshew was the first quarterback that they ever had true backup behind him that was younger than Mahomes. Justin Fields a little bit more so, and again, he's also running the Patrick Mahomes offense during training camp largely. I mean, I think if the Chiefs had to play with Justin Fields for any extended period of time, I think they would adapt their offense a little bit more to maybe, drag some old Alex Smith standards and favorites out of the playbook. I think he could do a really good job with that. There's elements of some things that, designed specifically for Justin Fields that I think he could probably handle pretty well and maybe be pretty good at. Maybe some things that are different than what Mahomes does. Could they have any tricks up their sleeve, as far as a couple of creative snaps a game where, for Justin Fields, maybe a quarterback, sneak quarterback, a tush push quarterback. I wouldn't have any problems with that. Yeah, I am 6'4". I mean, I mean, as I get older, I may be just grazing 6'4", but I get up there. So I got that going for me, Danny, which is nice. Tater Tots, any update regarding the stadium? I know Clark talked a little bit. I saw the other day in an interview about it. I didn't think there was any super nuggets out of it. I mean, obviously it sounds like they're getting closer and closer to a decision on the exact location for the stadium. Sounds like still the end of this year, January-ish. Still the goal for coming out with the plans for what it's going to look like, the final full proposal and everything. Every once in a while you hear little things that's like maybe there's still some more loose ends for Kansas to tie up than we've been kind of led to believe. I don't know. I mean, but I really don't get the sense there's anything that's going to derail the Chiefs going to Kansas, and obviously they got to get there in 2031. So, I mean, if you look at timelines for constructing stadiums, they need to get on the ball on that in first quarter of 27, and they know that. So they're starting. I mean, for all the talk about the fact that they started this conversation, well in advance and everything, it took them so long for both these teams to get through the process that they're really going to start construction. Because I think was Seren Petra, I think, that went through and looked at the numbers and found 39 months was the typical construction time and for new stadiums. And I mean, they're getting close to, we're going to have 48 months to get it done. That's a little tighter time frame than I would prefer if I were them. But, that's, hey, you can, at least the Royals, or excuse me, at least the Chiefs should have a somewhat clear runway as far as the sites that they're looking at, being able to be shovel ready, if you will. So, but haven't really heard a lot of updates on anything about the stadium itself, what to expect. They put out the release on the economic impact of the stadium construction. That obviously, I know that there's been some debate on the Kansas side about, whether, that this really makes sense and the cost and everything like this. And, there's arguments both sides about that and whether or not it makes sense. The truth is, as always, somewhere in the middle. The PR from the teams is never exactly 100% the truth. The criticisms on the other side are never exactly 100% the truth. The answer is somewhere in the middle. And bottom line, honestly, comes down to it is that, hey, is being a major league city and being a big league city, is being an NFL city important to you and your community? And I think it is. I think it is for Kansas City. So you're going to have a football team. So, Rodney, hopefully you see Woods and Tonga in the backfield together on a goal line. Somebody pointed out the other night that when we were talking about this, I think it was maybe on 41 is the mic. One of the comments was about how I didn't talk about Tonga in the backfield as a fullback option. I mean, yeah, it wouldn't. More power to it. I would love to see. We need to come up with a name for that one. Maybe we can come up with it and everything. We can start the trend. I would, yeah. And I do think you are absolutely, I would just absolutely, if there's a way to bet on it and Kalshi or someplace else has got a market for it, betting on whether or not Peter Woods is going to have a carry this year, I would, if 1.5, I would probably take the over. They're going to find a way to fit that in. You have to, it's just too much fun. So, Tater Tots, do you think the Chiefs need one more addition at defensive end? Again, this one gets tricky because do they have the depth for 4 or 5 defensive ends? Right now your 4th defensive end would be Felix Anudike-Uzomah, which, and again, this is the Pano's IR point. This is a guy that 3 years and still hasn't quite given you a full season, full 17 games of work. 4th, right now I'm penciling in Ethan Downs as the 4th guy. If you're going to keep a 5th, it's probably an undrafted rookie free agent. And, and the Chiefs, they do want to go young. They don't necessarily want to bring in a veteran. I'm going to use the word, no, maybe I shouldn't use that word. There might be some negative connotations I'm not thinking of to it. But they don't want to bring in a veteran that's just going to clog up the development of any of the young guys. I think I certainly get the sense that I think that this year they would rather experiment with some young guys as the 4th and 5th edges on this team. Even if Felix makes this team and it's the 4th guy and a young guy is a little bit different flavor, like an Ethan Downs or any of the guys that they have in. They got, I think, 3 or 4 different edge rushers that they brought in as undrafted free agents. If any of these players ended up as being your fifth guy. I think that I get the sense that the Chiefs would rather go down that route than just bring in a veteran for the sake of it. That's going to take up snaps from these guys and allowing them to grow and develop and figure out who they are. The one thing they definitely don't want, definitely don't want somebody to come in and step in front of Ashton Gelati and R. Mason Thomas. So anybody that they bring in is going to have to know and understand fourth is as high as you're going to climb on the depth chart at edge, unless there's injuries. So if the Chiefs were 100% about just squeezing the most, I never put the comments on the stage. I feel bad about that now. It's all about just squeezing the most out of the roster. Yeah, they probably could use a defensive end, but again, is it worth it for the cost? Some of the guys, anybody that's going to come in and I think give you some value is going to cost a little bit. And again, the Chiefs have literally zero cap space right now to make any moves whatsoever. They don't even have enough money for cap space to enter the season. They're going to have to restructure somebody just to get that done. So I'll be surprised. I think it's 90% that the first roster for this team, first 53 that we see, every single one of those players is on this team now. I think that's like 90%. So doesn't mean they might, especially, this year having a decent waiver wire location, that they might not turn over the roster after that first 53. But I think you're seeing a youth movement this year. I don't think that they want to bring in the veterans just to clog up things. And then Danny, do you think the Chiefs will keep Caldwell on the 53? I don't think he would clear waivers to the practice squad for some reason, even though he did go undrafted. It's hard for me to paint a path for him right now because he's not a return specialist. That's not in his skill set. That's not something, I'm not even sure if he ever did that in college. Did he? And the Chiefs have not really talked about him in any way about trying him out in that role. So I'm looking it up real quick to see if, because it's always possible. Let's see, he didn't do any at Cincinnati. I'd have to do some more investigating. I don't think he did any at Lindenwood either. So, and let's face it, he doesn't have the body for a typical return guy. So I would be surprised if they ended up using him in that role. If the wide receiver group plays out as expected, with your top three and then Cyrus Allen, Jalen Royals, it's hard to find a spot for him. There's five receivers already right there. You don't necessarily have an obvious couple of return specialists. You need 2 kickoff returners and you need a punt return. And obviously the punt returner and the kickoff can be interchangeable. But right now, I don't see the obvious. That's why tentatively I would say Nico Remigio is making this team until somebody beats him out. So who's going to beat him out for that spot? If it's another receiver, even if it's another running back, if it's EJ Smith, who I know that, Dave Tope spoke highly of, there might be some other options too at that spot. But regardless, if you're keeping an extra running back, if you're keeping, and I don't even still know exactly how the Chiefs have potentially 4 running backs that could make this team without even talking about EJ Smith yet. So now, if he makes the team as a returner and it's Brashard Smith as a returner, 5 running backs and 6 receivers, and Caldwell is one of them. 11 players dedicated to running back and wide receivers a lot. So I think that would be hard to make the math work on that one. But here's the bottom line though. When it comes down to Caldwell, he's not ready yet. He's got some polish to do. It could come together for him, but he's not ready yet. So I don't, we're talking about trying to find room on the roster and everything like this. To me right now, Caldwell will be a guy that you're just stashing on the 53 for the future. And I don't know if there's going to be room for that kind of roster decision this year. You're right. Would he clear waivers? I think there's a more reasonable chance that he could, because again, it depends on what he shows during the preseason, and maybe the Chiefs will try to hide him a little bit. But I I think that once again, I mean, it's kind of like with Nussmeier. I think both those players have enough seasoning that they still need. I mean, remember Caldwell, I mean, 1 year at Cincinnati, really his only year of major college football. The rest of his career is it's a step up. And I mean, he still has a lot to learn. He is more of a physical specimen than a football player. So another team willing to put him on their 53. I mean, I think there's a reason why he went undrafted, and that's it. I mean, and once again, bringing in a player this late, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, you're really admitting that you're going to be doing the same thing that the Chiefs would be doing. You're just stashing him for the future, and because you're probably not going to plan on making him a part of your offense in 2026. So I think they can squeeze him onto the practice squad, and you never know. Maybe in the third preseason game, he will magically tweak a hamstring and end up on injured reserve. Not that that would be the first time that that's ever happened before. And now that they let teams put players on injured reserve at the start of the season who can then be designated to return, makes that magical thumb injury or tweaked hamstring or sore shoulder all the much easier. So, and let's face it, any NFL player has an injury at any given moment once the season starts. So you can come up with anything to put somebody in the practice squad. Wink, wink. Tater tots. Do you think the Chiefs will have a fullback on the roster? I can't imagine it because they don't have one now. I mean, everybody they got right now is just a traditional running back. Don't. I mean, even all their tight ends. I mean, none of them are like converted fullbacks or anything. So, nope, I don't think they're going to have a fullback. The closest thing that they do have to a fullback on the roster is Kyrie's Tonga. So, maybe that's a guy. Get some looks in there, and I would love to see Tonga blocking for Peter Woods in the backfield. I think that would just be absolutely the chef's kiss on that formation would be if you do it with Justin Fields and then Fields like options it to you got a fullback option or something, and then he just runs it out and kicks it out outside. I mean, there probably wouldn't be anybody within 20 yards of him because there'd be everybody's trying to figure out which one of these big guys is getting the ball and how you're going to get him on the ground. So. Also, Tater Tots, are the Chiefs going to get a more blocking tight end? I mean, Mason Pline, this guy that they signed, has got the body for it. I mean, he's got the build to do it. And I do think that they that's another thing that they need. I mean, honestly, the Chiefs need a more blocking tight end, and they need a more receiving tight end behind Kelsey. So, I mean, they need both, unfortunately. So we'll see if they figure out a way to squeeze it out, Tater Tots. But Pline is an intriguing candidate. He showed better hands than I expected during off season and that mini camp workout. So we'll see what he's got. And obviously, I mean, that was one of the things that supposedly Jared Wiley was a pretty good blocker that has better than expected hands, and we haven't really seen the blocking part of it. But if he can show that, then it would be an improvement. And Tater Tots, is this the best defensive line the Chiefs have had in the Mahomes era? I don't think it is yet. I could ask me again in December. I just need to see it together. On paper, it's nice. I would say no right now just because there's too many unknowns with the young guys. I don't know what Peter Woods is going to be. I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know what Ashton Gelati is going to be this year. I definitely don't know what R. Mason Thomas is going to be. I mean, on paper, it's got potential, but I look at this defensive line, and I mean, it should be better in 27 than it is now. And I think you had, I mean, that 20, I mean, you had two defenses, and I'm gonna give the secondary some credit because they were a part of it too. But in 23 and 24, your defense had 55 sacks. So I mean, that was a pretty good defensive line. I mean, it wasn't the best, honestly. I mean, I think that the Chiefs' best defensive lines may have been the early ones that Spags had. I mean, honestly, I mean, with Chris Jones and Frank Clark and Mike Pennell when he was younger, and Derek Nottie, before the injuries got in there, and then they had some other, you had the Terrell Suggs of the world, and Melvin Ingram's factoring in. I mean, I feel like that they had some pretty good defensive lines, in the Mahomes era. This is maybe the best potential defensive line, but it needs seasoning. I mean, we need to find out what Peter Woods is and what he can do and how much he's ready to do. We need to find out if Omar Lott's going to be healthy or not. I mean, even Chris Jones, you need to see what kind of juice he's got left at 32 out there and everything. We need to see if George Karlaftis is healthy is going to be a thing. Some questions to answer, Tater Tots, but I would hazard right now. My bet would be that you're going to say 27 is when you're going to say, wait a minute, is this the best defensive line that the Chiefs have had in the Mahomes era? That's when I think you might be asking that question and truly believe in it and everything. So, all right, everyone, we're almost at the 2-hour mark. So I will say if there's any more questions that pop in here in the next 30 seconds, feel free to do a last call. Otherwise, just wrap up with the evening. I haven't been checking out what else is going on in the world. So I hope anybody, I know that the World Cup's field's set, so I'm not missing any World Cup games. Not that I care that much, but it is what it is. Man, I could have spent like half an hour talking about the U.S. men's national team and that whole thing. But since I don't really like soccer, I mean, I mean, I have a conflicted relationship with soccer. We'll just call it that. It's nothing psychological or anything like that. There's nothing. I just don't like soccer, but I can complain about it, but I don't want to do that to soccer fan. This is soccer fans' time of year, so enjoy it and go on. Bobby, thank you for the kind words. Hopefully I don't want to be a jerk, so hopefully I didn't insult anyone and with some of my comments and everything earlier. So he has asked me anything and I asked for it, so I will answer anything. Check out 41 is the mic. Nick and I talked this week about some guys who need to show out this year and what the Chiefs need from their draft class and where guys are and who is maybe ready to explode, who needs some seasoning. What do we expect from that rookie group this year? Appreciate that, Bobby. I'm glad to hear that. And we've got another 41 is the mic scheduled for Sunday. We always try to get those out Sunday, sometimes Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and Nick always works so hard to get those out. So we'll have another episode coming up this weekend, and we'll be back next week, and we'll be 10 days out from training camp when we get together for Chiefs Digest live stream next week. Everybody, thanks for the questions tonight. Truly appreciate the conversation. Some great questions, great comments and talk. I'm glad we got some suggestions for Bobby for St. Joe and some places to go eat and everything. If we come up with anything else, Bobby, I'll let you know. So take care, everybody. Have a great week, and we will see you again soon.